Good evening, Fernwood. It's your TV pal Neil, and it's time for some more late night variety madness with another episode of Fernwood Tonight. If you are just seeing my face for the first time, I have reacted to all of Mary Hartman, and we're continuing that tradition with Fernwood Tonight. We watch the show together, then, we'll talk about it because people like to express things using words. Today we are watching episode 21 from August 1st, 1977. This is the start of the 5th week of the series. Last Friday we had some stuff to talk about. Barth Gimbel reminded us how ubiquitous the happy face had become recently, and he wanted to spread that happiness to different places around the world. Debbie Dunbar returned with the Debbie Dunbar Review, and they certainly did put on a show. Then Lieutenant Leonard Trask shows up to tell us about his life after death, after life after death, after life after death experience. Then we see the return of Daredevil and auto mechanic Virgil Sims, who recently survived destroying the entire speedway in Fernwood with his jumping of a motorhome. And he returned to say that he is now focusing on auto repair tips. We ended the show with Virgil sharing some photos from the stunt, and that's where we ended last week, so let us begin week 5.
Tonight from Fernwood, Fernwood Tonight, coming to you almost live with your host for tonight, Mr. Barth Gimbel. Tonight, Barth's guest will be Reggie Morrison, who may be Fernwood's answer to Rich Little. Marshall Petty with a new low way to get high. Susan Cloud with an alternative to eating. And Happy Kine and the Mirth Makers. And me, I'm Jerry Hubbard. And now here's your host and mine, Mr. Barth Gimbel.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fernwood Tonight. If I know the people of Fernwood like I think I do, you're all asking yourself the same question. What happened? Well, I just felt it was getting a little shaggy and I needed a trim. I hope I didn't take off too much. So much for what happened. Now for the real news. I had a relapse of my whiplash. Just when it looked like the case was going to be settled out of court, the other guy's lawyer said I didn't have a case because I wasn't hurt enough. Then me and my lawyer were leaving the other crook's office. The elevator hit the first floor with a jerk, and it's neck brace city all over again. I can't believe it. Speaking of jerks, I guess it's about time I told you about the guy who did this in the first place so we can end this case once and for all. I was in this store where they have a line set aside for people with a certain number of items in their basket. These express lanes, they call them, are for busy people. People who have appointments with sponsors or station management, that type of thing. Anyway, there was a gentleman behind me in this express line, and to put it politely, he was harassing me. He was counting my items to see if they added up to 8 or less. He said, I know. He said I had 8 or more. I said, sir, you can't count. He said, you have a dozen eggs, and that makes 12 items. I said, that makes 1 item of a dozen. He said, that's cheating. It's not 1 egg, it's 12. I said, okay. You have 2 6-packs in your basket, that's 12. He said, that's 2 items of a half dozen each. I said, no. I said, all right, then I have 2 6-packs of eggs in 1 carton, making a meager 1 as far as your dozens go, sir, and you are wrong. I shouldn't do this, I'm sorry. Then I simply turned my back and went about my business, leafing through the TV guide. Then this buffoon, unexpectedly and very forcibly, I might add, rammed me from the back with his grocery cart, flinging me into the certs in the Tic Tac display. Causing what is known as whiplash, which is a very severe and very painful straining of the neck. Undiagnosable, but perfectly legal. Anyway. Oh, boy. Anyway, I simply paid for my goods and left this pain in the neck to deal with my own, okay? It wasn't until I was out in the parking lot and noticed this cocky SOB, and I'm going to call him that, I don't care. I saw him getting into his fully equipped, brand new Mercedes 250 SE, and at that point, I realized how badly I had been victimized. However, the beautiful thing about this country is you don't have to suffer this kind of pain in silence. Even the common man has access to fair compensation through our legal system. If you thought Barth Gimbel was famous for his fine suits before, well, wait till you see this one, okay? Hello, Jerry. I've turned this way, but it really hurts.
Oh,
okay?
don't bother. You look like you're really in pain, huh?
Jerry, only my lawyer and I know how badly this hurts. Believe me. No one can know the pain. Except really myself and my lawyers. That's it. Oh, I did it. Well, I think we have a pretty good case. We've already photographed the cart skid marks and the scattered certs, and you know and I know that Polaroids don't lie. As for tonight, I'm a trooper, and the show must go on.
Does this give you...
Jerry!
Does it cause an irritation up under the chin area also?
There's a little
Boy,
bit of an
that's
irritation to my left is all the problem I have. So tonight, let's just have a ball, beginning with our segment. You know what it is. Rocket to Stardom.
Hey, okay.
So you wanna be famous, your chance has come. Now you're on Rocket to Stardom.
On this section of our program, we do like to present new talent on Rocket to Stardom whenever we find it. Unfortunately, tonight we're not really sure we found it, but what we have found are a mother and a father who think that they've found some talent in their young son, right, Jerry?
Yep. I'm still here.
I know, I just want to check. It's hard. Apparently, this young person does impressions, says here, and just to be on the safe side, he tells you who he's imitating in advance. That's good thinking. And who knows, he may be Fernwood's answer to Rich Little. Only time will tell if he is the answer. For right now, he's just another question mark. I think what I'm going to do is just stretch out over here and take it easy while you all watch Little Ricky Morrison.
How I love you, my dear old Swanee. The folks up north will see me no more when I get to that Swanee shore. Now I would like to do somebody you might know. Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. Yo, Paul, it's me, Rocky, you know? Just came by, say hello, see what you were doing. And I want to know what Adrian was doing, you know? Because I don't have anybody to say hello to me, and it's Friday night, you know? And now I would like to do President Nixon. My fellow Americans, we are gathered here today from industries. Hit it. When I get to that Swanee shore.
Come on over here, Reggie. Hi, I'm Jerry Hubbard. Sit next to Uncle Barth there.
Have a seat, Jerry.
Oh.
That was good.
Yes.
I would have clapped harder, but I have a case. How old are you, Jerry?
8 years old.
8 years old. Your birthday this year?
No, not this year. It's in March.
Oh, okay. Then that would make you one of the astrological signs, wouldn't it? Never mind. How long does it take you to learn to do one of those impressions?
Oh, I'm just starting to learn them now.
Oh, you are. In other words, it took you 8 years just to work up what we heard there. It would probably take you a long time. You'd probably be a very old man before you could learn a whole act.
I enjoyed your impression of Richard Nixon. Let me ask you something. Do you feel that he got kind of a raw deal? Do you feel that... he claims he didn't. He impeached himself. Do you feel it was justified, or
Excuse me, Reggie, could you do an impression of Jerry here?
I wouldn't know what to say.
Perfect.
probably have one of those common faces that's easy to remember, huh?
Okay, anyway, thank you, Reggie. It's wonderful you're here, and you're welcome to sit here for the rest of the show and just
Sure, make
do
yourself
your
at home.
impression of a mute. Jerry, it's all connected.
Right, okay.
We'll be right back after these important words. Excuse me. You know, when you say the word drugs, you immediately think of a street scene in some tough neighborhood in New York. But drugs are a national problem, and no matter what you like to think of it, Fernwood is part of it. Our next guest is Mr. Marshall Petty. He's the principal at the Dwight D. Eisenhower School. He's here to discuss the drug problem with our youth. Mr. Marshall Petty.
Reggie, why don't you sit here and let the...
Have a seat. We just want to ditch the kid. Welcome back, Mr. Petty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's the question. How bad are the drugs in our school?
Well, we like to think, Barth, the presence of any drugs in our school creates a problem. That's why we like to eliminate all drugs from the young people of Fernwood.
Yes, sir.
So the saying, the more the merrier, is not hold true in this case. Actually, the less the better.
Now, what kind of drugs are we talking about here? Pot, grass, marijuana, cocaine, smack, heroin, the big H, quaalude, speed, meth, Dexies, downers, ludes, what are they?
Well, I don't know if we have them in Fernwood. I do know that some of the kids are sniffing pot.
That's very unusual.
You can tell that. You walk by any door and the aroma comes out, and
That's how you know?
that's how you know.
Now, when any locked door, immediately you know they're in there sniffing.
Yeah, the aroma just comes
Sure.
right, hits you right in the face.
Now, when you actually find these, oh boy, these users, as they call them, what do you do?
Well, we find a youngster that's high. We try and bring him down so we can reason with him. What we do is we get a wet, very wet, cold sheet.
Sure.
Wrap them up very, very tightly in the sheet, you know. And then we wait a while for them to come off their high.
Yep.
If they don't come off the high after a while, we unwrap them and we spank the hell out of them.
That's it.
And then we reason with them.
Sure, and if that doesn't work, you could always make them watch Match Game or something.
Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that would work, Bart. You know, narcotics, leads to more serious crimes. There's no
Sure it does.
question
Well,
about
I've
it.
done some research myself on that. I read a book about drug users. It was one of their confession books, and it was called I Saw God and Passed Out. Now, he said drugs were related to crime, or at least to religion. Have you found out any evidence that Fernwood's drugs are in fact linked to crime within your school system?
Well, we haven't been able to pin that down, but Barth, I don't have to tell you what the use of drugs can lead to.
Well, that's for sure. You might have to tell Jerry.
Jerry, take cocaine, for example.
Sure.
Use
You know what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's all right. After you use cocaine for a while, you become immune to it. And you want to go on to, something bigger and something better. Something we might not have here in Fernwood. Mm-hmm. Like, let's see, Toledo Gold.
Sure.
So what happens is the kids leave Fernwood, they go to the big city.
Yeah.
The boys are out in the park mugging people. The little girls are selling their body to pay for their habit.
Wait a minute, you mean these young Fernwood girls who we see now at high schools, maybe these cheerleaders are going to be out selling their bodies for
16, 17-year-old babies.
15, probably.
Some 15.
Wait.
One 14.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
We're not sure.
Are you trying to tell me that some of our beautiful young girls in Fernwood, 15, 16 years old, with the perfectly smooth young girls with blonde hair and blue eyes,
Suntanned legs. And...
are out there just doing what they do for their habit for, let's say, $100 a night? And that
Less than that.
How much?
We're not sure. We're taking some surveys.
Our own girls have a little apartment or something like that somewhere in Fernwood. Beautiful young things that look like they could be cheerleaders off the Saturday
Probably
Evening Post cover
cheerleaders.
are out
Some
there
of them
doing
are
whatever the gentleman asks of them for, as according to what you were saying, less than 100, maybe like $10, $15 a...
We're surveying
Some of
this. We're trying to find out which of these poor children need help, need guidance,
Well,
need
Mr.
therapy.
Petty, if I can interject here, I think
Certainly.
they all need help. And then Barth Gimbel's day is never too busy. That he can't reach out and help those people less fortunate than him. I'm obviously sick in the neck. I'm also sick in my stomach when I hear about this. And I'm going to start giving my Saturday mornings or afternoons or Saturday nights or whatever it takes to help those girls. I would like very much, and I'm going to go on public record right here to help them. If you can give me the names and addresses of these people who are in this kind of problem, I'm going to go out of my way, and I don't want a cent. Okay?
Barth, I think that is tremendously commendable of you. I think that you are to be congratulated. May I shake your congratulations? Is it
Just
all right?
very gingerly.
Congratulations.
Now, my motto at this point is, people of Fernwood, as soon as I'm off my back, I'm going to get those girls off theirs.
I
Okay?
think-
We'll be right back after this. On and brings a new recipe or something like that, and then the host and the band leader and all the other celebrities get up and try to cook things and get tomato sauce all over their hands and that kind and everyone has a ball. Well, we on Fernwood tonight have our own resident cook, but fortunately she's left her meatballs at home, if you know what I mean. Please welcome the proprietor of Fernwood's organic health food restaurant, Ms. Susan Cloud. Kind of a different look here tonight, Susan, but don't say anything about it.
Laid back.
I don't want to bring it up. Well,
Wow, are you in misery?
no, I'm cool. Okay. Susan, how's business?
Well, Barth, business is like booming in a non-violent way, of course.
That's great news. What's cooking down at the Butterfly Deli? What are you up to?
Nothing these days because this week we're catering to people who are into fasting.
Giving Happy Kind some competition. His Bun and Run has been serving fast food for quite some time.
Wow, how organically humorous. Totally out of touch.
What are you offering the faster at the Butterfly Deli?
Well, everything but food. And you know, the price is right. I mean, I'm offering them a complete lack of dinner, which includes no super salad, no roller butter, no entree, no veggie, no beverage, and most important of all, no dessert.
Sure, that's where you really lose right there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can really lose. They lose $3.75 plus tip.
Whoa.
I'll tell you, it's really worth it. And the reward afterwards, I mean, like, people don't ask you for a toothpick.
Right? Which helps save our trees, something I know you're involved in.
And it stops me from having to install bathrooms.
This is true. You keep the same towel in there. You don't have to roll it down. That's great. Well, Susan, towel.
Oh, I'll have to put one of those in there.
You don't have a towel in the bathroom?
No, I feel that air is the natural way of telling your fingers that they shouldn't have played in the water.
Susan, I must ask you, do you have any paper products in the bathroom?
Oh, let's see. Just a couple of candy bar wrappers from my former days. And then also there are a couple of empty Sara Lee tins. I mean, that's another good reason for coping with eating. I mean, it's like Mother Nature's way of coping with your anxieties at like 3 in the morning near the toaster oven.
Right. Susan, it seems to me that fasting might just be nature's way of telling a restaurant it's bankrupt. Is that at all possible? I mean, why would a restaurateur like yourself advocate fasting? Because maybe business is slowing?
Oh, I think you've hit a nerve, and if I ever come down, I'll know for sure. But I don't want to know, so I hope I don't come down. But I think basically the reason I'm doing it is because, I mean, look around. All over the world, there are like millions of people without thighs, and I think I have the surplus, you know? So, like, this is my way of identifying with them and trying to, like, at least make a semi-conscious effort to fit into my pants without a crowbar.
Right.
It's like those refrigerator refugees are heavy, but not as heavy as my thighs.
1 second, Jerry, something I wanted to ask. Is there a separate area for fasting in your little restaurant, the Butterfly Deli, home of natural organic foods down at the corner of Jefferson?
Oh, nice try, Barth, but, like, I'm not that high, and I can tell what you're doing, and I can't be bought.
They always say that at first, don't they, Bart?
History repeats itself, you know?
That's
but
because no one listens the first time.
I think I missed that. But there is a little section that is soon to become the Butterfly Deli Cabaret, which I call it the Joel Grey Room, because he looks like he's been fasting for, like, ever. But the room is theirs, you know, and hopefully soon it'll be mine.
Are you comfortable there?
Jerry, please. Oh, thank you.
Wow, you looked spaced out there for a second.
Yeah, it's real bad, and I think it's going to be worth a lot. Oh, boy.
Oh, your shoes are cute.
Susan, I understand that you have some, oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I understand you have some news about some organic natural food aphrodisiac. Is that true? That increases supposedly your sex drive, like, to use your expression, like 200%? And, makes those intimate moments even more incredibly special. Is that true?
Well, it is, Barth. It is really true, and, like, I would love to tell you about them.
Well, it's too bad we don't have time to talk about it. Thanks for talking about not eating. And maybe next time you could come here and not talk about eating.
Okay, whatever's mellowest, you know, yin or yang.
Right, yin or yang. We'll be right back after this word. Peace. Sign them in pencil, okay? It's just something I thought that occurred to me. A lot of times they're in ink and they're useless after you get them. I want to thank Happy Pie and the Mirth Makers. Also want to thank young Reggie and his impressions. Best of luck, Reggie, when you grow up, okay? Also, of course, I'd like to thank Mr. Marshall Petty from the Dwight D. Eisenhower School. I think we can probably just get high listening to your wisdom. We don't need those drugs. And last but not, well, never mind. Last is, of course, Susan Cloud. And best of luck down there at the Butterfly Deli, which is, of course, the home of organic and natural foods at the corner of... I'm not going to do it, don't worry. All right, that's our show for tonight, folks. Good night. Oh, Jerry, I didn't even say thanks. Jerry, all right.
Also appearing on tonight's show were Ricky Siegel as Reggie Morrison, Dave Cameron as Marshall Petty, and Susan Elliott as Susan Cloud.
Starting September 25th, the ever-hilarious, always outrageous, and simply magnificent Monty Python's Flying Circus returns to Channel 13 every weeknight at 11 p.m. And next, get smart.
Well, it seems like we got some light fare today, but we start with Barth talking about how injurious the world is out there and some trouble that he had at the 8 items or less counter. Of course, it doesn't hurt to know that someone that you've had an altercation with is, more wealthy than you. So, hey, America has been litigious for a while, and I feel like that's a pretty good example of it. And then we bring out young Reggie Morrison, who does a couple of impersonations and sings Swanee. And it's a fairly typical Rocket to Stardom, where Barth is sitting on the couch this time rather than in his normal seat, and fairly well mocks the talent. And then we bring back Marshall Petty, the principal at the school, who is there to tell us how drugs have gone rampant in Fernwood. And in this case, Barth asks what drugs have gotten their grip into the Fernwood High School scene. And Marshall tells us the aroma of marijuana is something that has been creeping around. He says as well that the drugs have driven some of his students to hard times, and much like Debbie Does Dallas, the cheerleaders are now selling their bodies from, wherever. And Barth pledges to help those young ladies out. Debbie Does Dallas would not be released for another year, so this is possibly a precursor to that, or maybe just a silly opportunity for Barth to say that he is going to do some searching out of young ladies in need. It's pretty sketchy, though. Speaking of sketchy, we then bring out Susan Cloud from the Butterfly Cafe, and last week I showed a video for a young woman I felt was kind of the inspiration for Susan Cloud, but she certainly is a flavor. Speaking of which, she's now catering to people who are fasting. And of course, occasional fasting is something that people still do today. I was reminded, though, of breatharians, which are fairly more modern pseudoscience, and I had to look it up because I've only heard the word, but apparently these are folks who believe that they can live on the energy of the universe and they forego food and water. It's not such a healthy or advisable lifestyle for sure. I don't really know if any of the people who practice that still practice it, or if any of the people who kept practicing it survived. An occasional fast, I think, is survivable. So at least Susan is serving a community in need, and that's pretty much where the show ends. Barth says thank you to his guests and good night to everyone, and thankfully there were no giant controversies to address. So hey, now it's time for us to talk about the topic of the week, which I brought up back in March, and that was, if you were a character in Fernwood or a citizen of Fernwood, who would you be? And our first response is from D. Willoughby 13. I would be Loretta's sister visiting. I'm short with long blonde hair as well and live in Nashville, so I vibe with her for sure. And love Western clothing. My name would be Cindy Lou. I really love just imagining people, and D. Willoughby and I have never met in person, certainly on YouTube here, but I really just love imagining people fitting into this Fernwood universe, and I love the idea that our characters that we've come to know and love, or have various feelings for, have family that we haven't met. I'm curious to see where a storyline with Cindy Lou in the Fernwood universe would end up. I think it would be interesting to see if Loretta and Cindy Lou get along very well, because, family in this show is usually fairly contentious. So thank you, D. Willoughby, for sharing that imagined piece of Fernwood fanfic. That was unintentional alliteration there. That is everybody. That's the response to the topic of the week for today. That's all I've got to say about this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. Thank you for being you. And we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.